Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here Pay Here morning show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday.
Buenos dias from Clearwater, Florida.
We're really glad to have you all here today. And, it's the end of the week. And sometimes it's funny. I had a great week, but it's like I woke up yesterday thinking, is it Friday yet?
Wait, it's the end of the week? I still have stuff to do.
We still have a lot of stuff to do. We've got a pretty busy day today. But it's funny. We have one of our good friends, actually it was Tommy, that was like, you guys want to do this 3 days a week?
Yeah.
That's nuts. We said, it's fun, though.
It has been fun.
Really
Ask
has
us
been.
again in a year how we feel about 3 times a week. But so far, we're just having fun. And I told Michelle in one of her episodes, we are not going to run out of stuff to talk about. There is so much. Hey, there's Bill Elizondo. Good morning, Bill.
We love that you're like always here, and it's awesome to see you.
And Bill is going to be our guest on Monday, barring some, crazy snag. Bill Elizondo is moderator for NIADA, has a storied career in buy here, pay here, and subprime financing. Looking forward to introducing Bill to some of our listeners. And so thanks, Bill, for joining. And so we'll talk more about all those things on Monday. But today we want to talk about customer engagement.
Yeah. And we kind of got a really great lead into that on Wednesday when we had Tommy here. And about even talking to him about some of the ways that he has really helped, or he's just fostered this environment of family in his dealership. And he gave a lot of really great nuggets or ideas of how he did that. So those of you who have not listened, please take a moment and look at or listen to that.
Yeah, Tommy's episode on Wednesday was, for those of you who are not aware, was marking his 30th, actually to the day. June 1st was his 30th day or 30th year in business in Pennsylvania. And so we were just celebrating together and talking about what the business is like for him. And by the way, Tommy acknowledged that in this changing environment of digital communication, that he's finding it more and more difficult with his operation to stay in contact with customers. So that's part of what we know is happening. We were asked at our presentation at BHPH United, how do we, with all the ACH payments, if you think about after delivery, how do you stay in contact with your customer? How do you keep them engaged? A lot of businesses out there trying to figure it out. And buy here, pay here, we have a long and kind of unique relationship with our customers. And so it becomes even more important that we figure out how to stay plugged in.
Yeah. You see a lot of like retail, whether it be cars or other things, that they'll pop in, send you an email every once in a while to try to keep you engaged. But that's usually you've bought one thing and they just want to make sure that you're aware of them so that you'll buy again. But this is a very unique situation where we have a relationship with these people for 3+ years.
Yeah. And so today's about, I remember we told the gentleman who asked the question at BHPH United, how do we stay engaged? And so we jokingly said, well, tell those folks in the purple shirt at BHPH United, we'd love to come back and talk about just the subject of engagement. Turns out we're just going to talk about it on the morning show, and we'll still be happy to come back to BHPH United and talk about it.
Absolutely may, because I think this is a topic that just it really lends to unpacking multiple times. And let's talk about it because it's something that everyone should have on their radar. And and
there's so many ways that this affects our business. You've heard me say in the past, even prior morning shows, we've talked about how in collections, having some level of what Michelle and I call relationship equity, it's going to affect your relationship with your collector's relationship with your customers, which has more of an impact on your business than your salespeople's relationship with your customers. And so there's all these layers of this that are, going to affect, how we remain engaged. And then the other thing, Michelle, that I have kind of talked about at times over the years, articles and what have you, is that I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that, if we're out there trying to grow our business, maybe we have 200 accounts and we're, just trying to get to 400 or whatever the growth looks like for a dealer, then, I have to remind people sometimes there's at least 2 ways for us to grow our portfolio. one is to sell more cars, and the other is to keep more customers with us, retain more
Mm-hmm.
customers, reduce charge-offs. And so this whole thing about engagement can be part of, how we do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one of the things that we, when we're talking to our clients is we talk about marketing, just getting people in the doors, and what dealers out there are spending per, what they break it down to per car sold, it equates to X dollars. And so we get them on the pathway of, all right, you need to be comfortable with spending X amount of dollars or somewhere around there to really start to pull people in. And we know everyone's going to have a different budget, and some people want to go like super big, and others are like, this is all I can afford. But it's like it's that marketing piece is really, really important
Mhm.
to get people in the doors. And
And you got
I
yourself.
almost said but, and and it is equally, if not more, important to keep those customers coming through the door.
Right.
Because those customers, if you keep them happy and they feel seen and they feel appreciated, and that you've been able to work with them, they're not only going to be coming back, but they're going to be bringing others with them.
Yeah, and I think this equity part that I talk about is when the customers feel like they know you, then obviously our
Mhm.
ability to navigate some of the difficult things that are bound to come up in the course of a
Mhm.
3 and now 4 and 5-year relationship with
Mhm.
customers, because of the length of contract is like,
Mhm.
I think that equity piece is significant because now not only are customers engaged, and I'm not talking about a weekly or monthly newsletter, I'm talking about actual interaction, doing things to keep them in contact with you because now when we have that level, when we feel like the customer knows us, then when something difficult comes up, a mechanical problem or whatever, our ability to navigate that and get beyond it is just so much better when we have
Mhm.
some level of relationship with that customer.
And we typically, when we talk about relationship, we talk about it in terms of equity.
Hmm.
And when in any relationship you have, with your kids, with your spouse, with a coworker, with your customer,
Right.
that every interaction you have with them creates a drop of equity in an
Hmm.
equity bank.
Right.
And so when the hard conversations come,
Hmm.
because they do. I mean,
Right.
not every customer you have, I mean, sometimes you have golden children and you never really need to, but they're going to come. And the more equity you have in that bank,
Right.
the more engaged that person's going to be in the conversation, and the more receptive they're going to be in that conversation, because they feel like, okay, we've built a relationship, and let's.
Yeah, and I say trust or I say equity, but I would also say trust. Like, when you're sitting with that customer
Mhm.
and you're across the desk from them or even on the phone, and there's a level of trust, which we all understand trust goes both ways.
Mhm.
So, they need to trust us that we're going to do, because many of them have been burned.
Yeah.
Your warranty is only as good as the people behind the warranty. And
Yeah.
so many of them have been burned by promises of warranties. And so many of them are, a little jaded and frustrated and whatever else and stressed. And so,
Yes.
they're-
So, I mean, we can sit here and talk about, oh, everyone, trust is important, and equity is important, and engagement with your customer is important. I think we all agree on these things. So
Mhm.
how do we do these things? And we know that out there are a lot of dealers that have been doing this for a long time, and we would love to hear some of your thoughts, ideas on this as well, that we can start adding to, maybe even like a bank of, here's some things that you can try doing.
Mhm.
But one of the first things that I wanted to talk about is that money side of this.
Mhm.
And I think that that's a foundational piece to what you want to do to continue and having that engagement, and
Mhm.
keeping them in communication with you. And that is, if you're willing to spend X to get them in the door, you need to be willing to spend X to keep them in the door, keep
Yeah, it's
them
certainly
with you.
something to budget for
Yes.
because like she says, if you're prepared to spend X amount to generate, 30 sales a month or 50 sales a month, whatever your numbers look like, then what are you willing to spend to keep your hundreds, maybe thousands of, existing customers engaged, we really need to think about that and the potential impact of that. And I would say it starts with, I want to acknowledge Russell Moore's comment. Russell, good morning. I know Russell's traveling, and we are going to tease the idea. Unless barring some snag, we also expect to have Russell
Next
from
Wednesday.
Texas on Wednesday for our White Hat Wednesday. So thanks, Russell, for agreeing to do that. We look forward to having you on with our folks on the Wednesday. And I agree with your comments there. As long as we say yes to their needs, then, he's basically saying, and I can read a little bit of facetiousness in that. As long as we say what they want to hear, then they're happy. But obviously, when you have enough equity, sometimes you have to say no, and you can get past that because they trust you and they're thinking long term.
Even if you say no, though, is there not a way to be able to phrase the conversation that's like that we're still on the same side of the table? I can't do this, but here's what I can do.
Yeah.
Which is a yes.
Yeah.
As well. It's like,
Yeah.
we can't do that, but here's what we can do, which is going to require X or whatever.
Which ties back to what we heard 30-year dealers say. Tommy on Wednesday said the big thing is communication. So when we're communicating well, and I know that doesn't always involve saying yes. Sometimes we will have to say no in the context of those conversations.
That's why you want to have equity.
Yeah. And so that's really about just being able to think long term. The customer can trust that we are thinking, and I've talked about, thinking about a 10-year approach to customer relations and thinking about this customer is going to be with me for 10 years. So how big a deal is this thing that's in front of me today, whether that's on the sales side or the mechanic or on the, customer side of the collection side rather, then how big a deal is that really? And if we run it through that filter of the idea this customer is going to be with us a long time, then we can go through that. But again, I think for today, we were talking about engagement. And if I think about engagement starting from the place of delivery. So one quick thing on follow through, we have suggested to many of our dealers, and we realize, and especially in Facebook group, we're broadcasting into the BHPH success group and also out there on YouTube and LinkedIn. But basically for our BHPH success group, we see a lot of new dealers in there. And so we are aware that many of them are not introduced to these concepts. And so I would say that one of the things to know is that we advocate for having a closing video as an example, something that the dealer would record to go along with whatever documents are signed at closing. And I like having that because it's at a time when the customer's approved, but the documents need to be printed. This is the time to sit down and watch our little 5-minute or 9-minute video. And it basically goes through everything with the customer that we want them to understand about doing business with us. So it's just a way to make sure that every customer hears exactly the same message. We're able to express to every customer exactly what to do when there's a mechanical problem, exactly what to do when there's a problem making a payment. And so it's very consistent, very specific. And now beyond that, I've suggested that we start using, most of us have a CRM that has, the text messaging or at least email, campaign capabilities. And so I would recommend that in the first days that the customer is with you, that we would have a follow through campaign that kind of supports those things, whatever bullet points you might have in that closing video. Imagine if I'm your customer and on day one, I get a little short video or a short email that says, remember,
text message.
Yeah, it's item number 1 on that list. Don't forget, here's how, and it obviously starts a process of engagement where we, verify the customer is receiving our messages and, ways to follow through on that. But we just start with, don't forget, here's what to do when you run into a mechanical problem. Here's what's going to happen with your plates, after your 30-day or, before your 30-day tag expires, whatever.
And don't forget, this is when your first payment is due.
Yeah.
And don't forget that
it could be that specific. It's about, it's limited to the dealer's CRM and whatever.
Yeah. Sometimes you can do an automated flow of text messages.
But it's really just about small little bullets, which ultimately transitions into more like a newsletter or whatever. But then beyond that, I think to really get effective with what Michelle and I would describe as engagement, we're really talking about more than text messages and emails. We're talking about ways to get customers to the building to participate in whatever kind of events and activities we're doing. And look, that could be online in this day and age, but it's about getting the customers to know who we are, know what we're about, and really create a real relationship that is not a digital one,
Oh,
you know?
exactly.
Right. So there's
Um,
all kinds of ways to do that.
There really are. One of the things when we were talking about this stream of text messages that go over, the course of the first week after they've signed, we talked about adding some dollars behind a goodwill or a promotional or something like that. Is even just something as simple as don't forget to say, like, respond with gotcha or whatever. And if they do all of these things throughout the entire time, that they can come in to just a thought, they can come into the dealership and pick up a $100 voucher that they can use at any time for a payment anytime throughout the course of their loan.
Right.
So, or a $50 voucher or a $25 gift card
Mhm.
to face or Amazon or something like that. But that you don't forget to say gotcha or don't forget to say whatever, so that that they're reading it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it's they get to come back in, and then you have another captive audience. It's like, hey, how's the car going? Da, da, da.
Well, and it's also real. I mean, I know that if I were out there doing that, I would be whatever awards I issue. If it's a gift card, I want them to pick it up in person, and
Absolutely, and
and
grab a
and they can
picture of it.
they have time. It's at their convenience. They can
Uh-huh.
totally come at their convenience. But I want to have them come. I want to take a picture. It's going to go on our business Facebook page or whatever.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it's about getting the customer to the building. But I think one of the other things we heard Tommy say on Wednesday is it's important for new dealers to just truly care about their customers, and I want to
They can
believe they
see
do.
through something that's not authentic.
Yeah, but I also
Yeah.
think if we're new dealers and we truly care, even established dealers, if we truly care about our consumers, then it really becomes about telling that story. How do we continue to make our customers, you know, potential customers in the community, existing customers in our portfolio, how do we demonstrate to them that we truly care and that we're good, citizens in our community, and we genuinely are interested in their success? How do you tell that story? Well, to say it is one thing. To go out and run an ad that says, "Hey, we're
We
we're
care.
care." Okay, good,
Okay.
nice. Now, what can you do to show me that you care? And so this is where you start the engagement. So now you get into,
There's a
what is it? There's a
difference.
difference between a promotional event, which so many of us that are in this space, and that's not an indictment, it's just that a lot of us come from a car background or a sales background, and we tend to run everything through a sales and marketing kind of thought process. And I would just say that what I'm really talking about on ongoing engagement with customers is really about shifting into goodwill mode. It's not about selling cars. It's not interesting when I present this to new dealers. So many times they come back with, yeah, and when they're there, we can have no, you don't understand. I'm talking about there's no effort to sell. If people ask about a car, of course, we'll answer questions about a
Mhm.
car. But the point of the event is a goodwill event. There is no intent to sell. There's no intent to make an
Mhm.
offer. We're not promoting anything except we're just giving to our customers. And so whatever that looks like, that's limited only by your creativity and your budget.
Yeah, Tommy talked about his turkey giveaway
Right.
every Thanksgiving.
Sure.
That there was a turkey giveaway. It had nothing to do with selling cars, but it had everything to do with giving back
Sure.
and being able to support their customer. So it was a goodwill
In my
gesture.
own dealership experience managing and owning, we also did a lot of campaigns leading into the holidays, in the fourth quarter, and that would be payment vouchers and lots of giveaways going into the holidays, knowing that people were going to need some payment relief, and so it's about being preemptive and
Yeah.
proactive on that. And
Yeah,
creating
that's
campaigns.
something that as we've consulted with dealers that are either have been in business for a while or that are new, I've watched you saying, this is the reality.
Mhm.
The reality is during the holidays that you are going to experience more delinquency
Mhm.
than you do during different times of the year, for
Yeah,
instance,
if you
tax
watch
season or whatever.
yeah,
But
we've got clients we've tracked for years, and you can see the
yeah.
little blips on the screen almost like a heart monitor.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, you've been
Yeah.
tracking the data for a long time. So that's one thing that is of goodwill that you can say you can use this anytime, even at Christmas time, if
So
you
some
want to get a little
examples.
relief from your payment so that you can
And dealers have done
Christmas.
this a long time, know that those blips can be the holidays, obviously Thanksgiving, Christmas, people are away, whatever. Then also back to school is a time that you see
Mhm.
spikes. And so that's a good time to also do some back to school giveaways. And then another one, which is probably not so much you could give away tickets, I suppose, but the other one is when the state or county fair comes to town.
Oh,
That's when you see, yeah.
Yeah, the first time you told me that, I was like, "Is it really?" Yeah, it is.
She's
It's
now
really a
seen
big deal.
she's now seen me in our presentations. I'll say
Uh,
that, and you'll see dealers nodding their head. Yeah, he's
Yep,
right. That
yep.
happens. Yeah, so they'll definitely get past due during that time. So it's about being preemptive. It's about being prepared for that. And it's about helping customers, through that stuff that they all deal with. But
Mhm.
I think going back to it's really just about creating and maintaining, kind of fostering that relationship.
Absolutely. And there's we can do giveaways, we can do goodwill gestures, but how do we get them to know that we're doing them?
Right.
One way is when you are actually going through the closing of a of them purchasing a car and
Hmm.
doing the financing, is that you ask them to like and subscribe to your Facebook
Hmm.
page and say, be watching that, because we're going to have different things that you'll see that's happening, but make sure that they do that. I've been to I remember when we joined a gym recently,
Hmm.
not a JIM, but a JYM. When we joined a gym recently, that if they could watch us get onto our Facebook and like the
Hmm.
page,
Hmm.
that we got a free t-shirt.
Sure.
And I thought to myself, that's pretty ingenious, because now every time I open up my Facebook, I've got something in that stream from these
Right.
people.
Sure. I see comments in
Oh,
here we can't see. And by the way, just a reminder, if you'll throw your name in there, or you either have to
yeah,
register on StreamYard or let us know who you are. We
yeah.
don't see on our side
This is
who the comments
GR
is.
Moore, and I already
Oh, you saw
posted
it.
that a little while ago.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
I
Okay, I missed
did.
it. I was looking away. So good morning, GR Moore in Texas. Glad to have you as well. So,
Yeah.
and I already asked, by the way, GR Moore and Russell Moore are apparently not related. They are both in South Central Texas, but they're not related. That's what I'm told. So, but anyway, glad to know
Yeah.
both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some of the other ways to grow that kind of engagement.
Yeah, so it's going to be obviously through ongoing events, and like I said, this is really, Michelle and I have ideas. You can go to conferences and hear ideas, and we can throw ideas around in the Facebook groups of the best ways. And of course, I would invite everybody to do that. We can
Please.
throw a poll in there and get a question or comments going about ideas that some of the more successful ways. But I think what I'm really trying to emphasize is it's about having an ongoing relationship. What do you do to maintain a relationship? So think of it in the context of, your own personal relationship. So what do you do to invest in a relationship to let the other person know that they're important to you?
That you care.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so what do you do? How do you keep kind of, the phrase comes sometimes is showing up. Like, how do you keep showing up? How do you keep contributing and investing in that relationship? So that's what we would ask you to think about in the context of your relationship with your customer. And so it's only limited by whatever, you feel like makes sense for you, whatever's comfortable for you. So we heard Tommy talk about his turkey giveaways. We talked about huge Christmas events. We've talked about, referral campaigns, which are that's kind of a promotional
Promotional one.
thing, but it's also a lot of fun for your customers and
Mhm.
sometimes gets them engaged.
Yeah.
So
We've also talked about one of the things we spoke about on the stage was which can be a great tool for sales, and it can be a great tool for your collections department,
mhm,
is if you make your payment on time for 3 months running, that you're entered into a $400 grocery card giveaway.
mhm,
And so we give away one every month.
right,
And as long as you've been on time for the last 3
sure,
months, that you are entered into this giveaway, and then take the opportunity to go to, for something like that, I would suggest that you go to the people and take a photo, and take whatever salesperson or whatever collector person is and have them be part of that. This is for you. We
yeah.
wanted to give this to you.
Which Leads me to something that I think we can kind of wrap in. We talked about it. We introduced the concept briefly at our presentation in BHPH United. We have had a client implement this, and this was a new concept for me. I'm aware of the need. We introduced the concept to a client last year, and they have since adopted it, and it's going quite well for them. They have a fairly large portfolio, but it's the idea of having a customer advocate on their team. Okay. So when you
Uh-huh.
think about advocacy, we all can think about, we understand what it's like to have a social media manager. We understand what it's like to have collectors. We can get that. But if you think about having somebody on your team who's a customer advocate, they don't work for the collections department. They don't work for the sales department. They are very much kind of autonomous in that way. They report to the dealer principal or general manager, however that's set up. But if you think about now, if I'm your customer advocate at your dealership, my job really is to keep customers engaged, do the best I can to keep them happy and solve their problems quickly. And so that means now I've got somebody who's really their chief role every day when they walk in. That's their number one responsibility, is to identify problems. Maybe that's coming through your service department, or maybe it's coming, through the collection side. Maybe it's warranty claims, so now you think about, because I talked about on prior episodes that I tend to think of everything that happens after delivery as an account matter. Okay. So now if you think about supporting the customers and thinking about success, even though we all, kind of get warranty in the other cars, and there's warranty claims, and there's, breakdowns and whatever. But I think of all those things as really supporting the account. It's all an effort to keep the payments coming in, which is really, about supporting the customer in whatever way, makes sense. So basically I want to make sure that we kind of recognize, and none of us have the budget for that. However, I would say if you look at what it can save you, if that person can save you 10, 12 charge offs a year, what's that person worth to you?
Yeah.
Start to think of it in that context, and now think, okay, does it really make sense? If I had that, could I get by with less collectors? Because one of the other reasons this came about is many of us are at a stage where our collectors are heavily engaged in accidents. They're dealing with, they're chasing down checks on, insurance payoffs, or maybe it's warranty claims, or, internal reinsurance claims. But they get tangled up in things that are really not about the car payment and the account, the management of the account. So when we can create a customer advocate role, and that person can really be available to support the customer through those kind of things, now it frees up your collections team to do what they're really trained to do well. And so this is why we like the concept, and we started to introduce this concept. So I think it's something we should see happen. Again, it's difficult to justify when you're small, but I think if you really did the math on, what would a person who really was able to be super attentive to customers, responsive, and their first job was to really to, support the customer through these things. One, how much relief would that provide to the rest of my operation? And how much would it translate to into saved and happier customers? And so what's that person worth to you now?
And, a lot of dealers out there they love to get new ideas. And the challenge is that their time only gets stretched so far.
Yeah.
And so I can't do this, and that this is just too much, or follow through, or whatever. So finding someone that can handle these types of things,
Right.
they can handle the goodwill, they can handle the promotional, they can handle the scheduling, they can handle
Right.
the, all of those things. We pay salespeople really, really well to bring people to a closing
Right.
for a car. And so that, when we talk about what are we willing to pay to bring in a new customer, that is, it's like, let's look at doing something about customer engagement. It really does. How do we engage? How do we keep a customer coming in? And that would really strongly suggest that be something that you consider doing, adding to your team.
And it's even better if you think about that customer advocate. Let's say that I'm, 6 months into the relationship with the customer, and the customer's dealing with a mechanical problem. Well, if I pick up the phone and call that customer because I'm their customer advocate, it's going to mean a lot more if they already know me. They met me
absolutely.
a month or so ago in the service drive when we were doing a hot dog day. We spoke, they know me, and so they, we spoke face to face, we made eye contact. It's like, it's a real thing. It's a real person who genuinely seems to care. That
Mhm.
means a lot now when we step into that conversation. So it's just
Absolutely.
important, these are some of the intangibles that Michelle and I try to tackle. And Bill, I saw your comments there
Yes.
about some good suggestions. I see the word consistent in there, and I know that Michelle's heard me. Most anybody
Oh,
that's worked with me over my career, and they still hear me, and if they've worked with me for more than about 10, 15 minutes, they've heard me use the words together: fair and consistent. So we really emphasize that in everything that we do. Is it's really important to be fair with people, and it's really important to be consistent in that, right? And so I
absolutely.
think that's kind of what Bill is going to
Absolutely.
here too.
And I from our dinner the other night, and we've talked about this before, is that using people's names. Oh my gosh, that is gold.
Oh,
It
speaking,
really,
yeah,
really is when you refer to them by their name,
yeah.
when you're talking to them.
Well, I think that's what
So
I
yeah,
said in Vegas.
once you find it out.
Handshakes are still a
Hmm.
thing. Eye contact is still a
Uh-huh.
thing. We talked about
We
that with
eye
Chick-fil-A.
contact's
Ask
huge.
ask
Yeah.
yourself what the difference is, the experience between Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. Sorry, McDonald's, but we just don't see a lot of eye contact out there. And so just think
Yeah.
about it. What is the difference in that experience?
Yeah.
And part
Yeah.
of that is they're very much trained to make eye contact.
Yeah, absolutely. And GR Moore actually added in a comment about doing a drawing is great. He usually does them December, November,
Yeah.
because this is someone who's been in the business
Oh,
for a
sure,
while
sure.
and knows what works. And you might as well turn something that could potentially be a point of conflict
Uh-huh.
into a point of a celebration between
Sure,
the two. It's a win-win.
sure.
It's like we've engaged our customer, and our customer feels less stress, less weight about
Right,
during certain times of the year that are more difficult for them to be able to navigate that extra payment.
right.
So
No,
really, really great.
it's good, and we want our customers to feel comfortable, engaging with us on social media. So if they, follow our business page, and we have a friend connection to them, on social media, then it's just nice to go out and just share. If you see one of your customers share that their kid made the honor roll, you throw
Oh
that,
my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's so much in this customer engagement that we can unpack, and it will be a theme or a topic that comes up frequently because it is so important. We
hmm
keep talking about how do we sell more cars
yeah,
or how do we finance more people?
right,
Well, this is equally as important is how do we engage our customers. So this is going to be a something that we will be bringing up
yeah.
frequently,
And so I think,
different
to
ways of
wrap
doing
that
that.
up, and many of us are out there, fighting the same fight in terms of cost
Mhm.
of car being way up and all the challenges around that. And I would just kind of, challenge us to think about, what is the customer really worth to you? You're
Yeah.
spending a few $1,000s more for a car now, but what's the customer really worth to you? If you can keep them for 3 years and 10 years, and Tommy's got customers been with him 4 generations, what's that customer worth? What are you willing to spend to get customers who are going to become raving
And
fans?
I would say that those 4 generations of customers, that's 4 customers from bringing one through the door, but
Hmm.
imagine because they have generational people that have come in and bought cars, how many people they've told
Yeah,
about Tommy.
sure.
And you need to go in and see them. He's awesome when,
Yeah.
when they hear that someone needs help with a vehicle.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if we're spending more for a car and we're still delivering with the
Mhm.
same $1,000 down or whatever, then at least we need that customer to be successful, stay with us a
Absolutely.
long time, right? That makes it all work
Absolutely.
better. So anyway, we hope that helped you, and we appreciate you joining in, and we look forward to your feedback. Let us know if you're enjoying what we're talking about. And by the way, get out there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is where you're going to find a lot of our stuff, and Michelle's now got all of our stuff.
It's
The
on Apple,
Yep.
iTunes, and a Spotify, and I think I'm still waiting on Google. Google's just, we
So
thought
not
the Apple was the hardest one. It doesn't seem to be as many hoops to jump through with
So now
Apple
you
as
can
Google.
follow us on your favorite podcast
Yeah.
channel, and you can listen to that on the way to the car auction.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can find us over on that side as well. So we appreciate folks tuning in.
So, and we know, we're going to be giving lots of different ideas and things. If there's something that we could help you with individually, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of good ideas, and we have a lot of tracks that can help people during very specific things. So
And maybe
if
you
there's
can
something we
tell
can
that,
help
yeah,
with,
maybe you
please
can
reach
tell
out.
that Michelle and I really enjoy what we do.
Oh my
We
gosh,
enjoy
we
helping
so
people
do.
and making a difference. And if we can also, by way of our dealer clients, help to have their customers have a better experience, that's even better. So yeah, we enjoy what we do, and we appreciate folks, tuning in.
Absolutely. So have yourself a fantastic weekend. It's not a 3-day weekend this time, but it's
Mhm.
a regular weekend. And please tune in on Monday when we have our special guest, Bill Elizondo, is going to be
Senor Elizondo.
Senor Elizondo.
That's as much as my Spanish. I'm half Spanish, but that's as much as you're gonna get out of me. So.
And that he'll be here with us, and so we're really looking forward to seeing you all, or hearing you all, or
Mhm.
talking to you all
Right.
on Monday.
Yep.
Have a great weekend, you
weekend.
guys.
See ya.